because they've somehow gotten up there, and that little ledge that they have to stand on is probably only a couple inches wide. So Bangkok is the most visited city in the entire world, and people come here for many different reasons. One of the reasons you may not have thought about is actually this behind me here. So Bangkok has a thriving graffiti scene of both local and international artists. In today's video, I'll take you for a walk through the streets, show you some of the artwork, and tell you a little bit about this subculture. So right now I'm walking along one of the canals here in Bangkok. The canals seem to be a really popular spot for artists to come and paint. And a great way to see it all is to jump on one of those canal ferries. They're about 10 or 15 baht. And you can go along the canal and observe all the artwork. You don't need to be into graffiti, you don't need to know how to read it or anything to be able to appreciate it. But it's great to come along here, take a walk, have a look up close at how much effort people have put into creating this art. So something that's really interesting is graffiti and street art means different things to different people. You can see this is a fish behind me here. This is hand painted with just a paintbrush. I think that's a jellyfish behind me there. Some people paint words, some people paint pictures, people use spray paint, paintbrush, whatever. The common thing is these are artists that like to express themselves in public. So one thing I guess a lot of people don't realize is that graffiti is a real subculture, and the people that do it, they take it really seriously. They'll study it, they put a lot of time into learning and mastering their craft. People learn the history about it. It's a really important thing. People judge each other based on their skill level, the amount of effort they put in, where they paint, how often they paint. There's so much more to it than what people would actually think. So I've been into graffiti since I was a teenager. It's kind of a craze that went around in my high school, and I was always an artistic person and I love doing creative things. I guess this is why I really enjoy making these videos now. I don't really paint anymore. I found for me personally, the better I got at it, the more difficult it became and the less I actually enjoyed it because I was putting way more effort into it. It starts to take longer, and in the end I wasn't interested in standing in front of a brick wall for 8 hours or 2 days or however long it started to take me in the end. It's a really rewarding thing when you create a great piece of art. I've actually created artworks and sold them in exhibitions. I actually did quite well out of it, but it was something that I didn't enjoy as much because I never wanted to take it very seriously. I only wanted it as a hobby, really. I do love that in sections of this canal there's entire buildings and fences painted, and there's giant murals here. It's so bright and colourful, and that's another reason it's great to catch the ferry along here, because you get to see it all. So I walk down this canal quite frequently, and one thing I'd often wondered is whether it was legal to paint here, if you're allowed to paint here or you weren't allowed to paint here. I've seen people painting here in the day and they've told me there are places that it is legal to paint and there's other places that are not legal to paint. So the places where people would have permission is if the wall basically backs onto someone's house and it's someone's property. Whereas this one behind me here, this has been painted clean, but there's actually a building behind me here, so this is back of a car park. But you can see since it's been painted, people have been coming down here and adding to it. For the artist, the major appeal of painting along here is not only is it visible to everyone that comes along, walks along here, takes the boat past, but it also stays for a decent amount of time. This was painted, you can see behind me here, 2019. So this has been here at least 2 years already. right now I'm heading around to a place called Graffiti Park. You can actually find that on Google Maps. It's just up ahead here. I'm actually quite interested to see it. I've never really been in here and had a proper look.
And I never feel sorry, yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
So this park is actually really cool. It reminds me of parks in New York City, the way it's kind of fenced in like this. And it's just a real little sort of like ghetto park, nestled amongst all these high-rise buildings in the middle of a city. If you're in Bangkok, come check this place out. It's quite cool.
When I hear him come like my fuse and then ba-bum. Later, see you later, I'm about to blow this up. You can sing my song if you want, I know you want it. It's always kind of funny, yeah, cause you know I'm a superstar on the sky to lead you on. Haters gonna hate, it's a proof of how they love. They can bring me down, nah. They are jealous of me and my umbrella, yeah, they love me so. This is me, I'm so royal.
Man, the talent of some of these artists is just amazing. If you see this mural painted behind me here, that's Kim Son-ho, who's a Korean actor. And that's an amazing mural. Unfortunately, the sunlight's coming through a tree and hitting it straight on, so it's much more impressive in person than it looks through the camera.
And you all wanna be round, yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion. Royal, top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world.
Those guys that are painted right up there, they get extra bonus points because they've somehow gotten up there, and that little ledge that they have to stand on is probably only a couple inches wide. And you wouldn't want to fall off that.
Yeah, top of the world.
So I think one of the major draw cards for people to come from overseas to Bangkok to do graffiti is just how long it will stay up. So if you see this behind me here, this was painted in 2018, and there's another one up here that was done in 2015. So while I'm not as much into this kind of graffiti as like the colorful artwork that I was showing you before, I feel like in Bangkok it kind of has a place here. That's one of the things I associate Bangkok with. It just adds to this whole grimy, chaotic feel that you have from this city. Now I've come back down to the canal. This is the same canal, but I'm all the way up in La Chateli now. I'm just gonna walk along here. I'm actually not sure how far you can walk along here, so I'll just walk up until the end, and then I'll probably jump on a ferry and head back home. And some of this artwork just blows me away at how detailed it is and how good these people are with using shading and different lines. This is incredible behind me here. This is all straight out of a spray can. And if you've ever used a spray can, it's not easy to use. And it's so hard to get these results. These are incredibly talented artists. So it might be a bit of a controversial topic, but I do feel like graffiti has its place in the world, and places like, especially here, places like Bangkok or New York, you know, places where the city, it just adds to the vibe of the city, I think. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and we've got suburbs that have basically embraced it, and they've just artworks all over, all the buildings, all the fences, everything, and I just find it gives so much color and so much character to that neighborhood. I love seeing these colorful artworks that people have created. You know, there is the other side of it, which I haven't really shown much of in this video, sort of the vandalism and destructive side of it, and while I don't necessarily like that as much, I do understand the appeal for why people do that. There's a different world that graffiti writers live in. You might walk down the street looking in shops, or you might watch the cars that drive past. These guys are constantly scanning, and they're looking at other graffiti, and they're reading what's up, they're noticing what's new, seeing what's around, you know, and they're forming opinions on people based on their feelings from what they see. So for people that are skilled or go to crazy places or just manage to get their name all over the city, you know, they're gaining fame and respect within that subculture. Alright, I'm going to wrap the video up here. I hope this was interesting. I hope you enjoyed. It was fun for me to get out and about in the city and be able to share this with you. So my plan is now I'm going to jump on one of the ferries, head back home down the canal. So I'll leave you with some footage of my trip back home down the canal.